Hello learners, and welcome to another week at CPDLF. This week we are on week 32 and we are completing units 10.11, 10.12, 10.15, 10.16, and 10.17. So essentially you have one thing to complete each day. Okay, so here we go. So 10.11 is a project called the Moral Majority, and the quiz is just the broad change. It's going to talk about 3 Mile Island and OPEC and the different things that we talked about, the space shuttles and the different things, like I said, we've been talking about with culture. We're going to talk about George H.W. Bush. He is the first Bush that was president, and the Cold War's end, and Middle East upheavals with Saddam Hussein, and it's going to talk about the Persian Gulf War. I was in 5th grade, actually, and I remember that we would talk about it in class each day, some current events. Some of my classmates had relatives in the Persian Gulf War. Mrs. Grassmeyer, who used to teach her husband was sent over to the Middle East for like 3 or 4 tours of duty. So the Middle East definitely has a direct impact on our nation. So you'll learn about that. Okay, but today I always try to find something to focus on, usually culture related. And I thought I'd find a video on George H.W. Bush because many people don't know a lot about him. They know his son because of 9/11, and he was the more recent president. But George H.W. Bush, his presidency sort of gets kind of fallen back there, as well as his wife. And this video is nice too because it focuses on his wife and what she did as First Lady to help the country. Okay, so here we go. Turn volume here a little bit. Okay, here we go.
Mother to a U.S. president, Barbara Bush is no stranger to politics. Former First Lady and mother to a U.S. president, Barbara Bush is no stranger to politics, but it's her charity work and dedication to her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and husband of 70 years that defines her. As a privileged girl growing up in the suburbs of Rye, New York, Barbara Pierce's future was on track, until she met a handsome prep school boy named George Bush at age 16.
I thought she was very beautiful, and she was very popular, so I got somebody to introduce me to her, and it was love at first sight.
Barbara married George Bush on January 6, 1945. A year later, she gave birth to their first child, George Walker Bush, and the couple moved to Texas.
They really did leave a cocoon of privilege in the East to really strike out on their own in Texas in the 40s and 50s. And I think she always had a great sense of adventure. And she loved the person she refers to as George Bush so much. He's never George, he's George Bush.
In September of 1949, Barbara received terrible news that her mother died in a fatal car accident. Barbara was pregnant with her second child and was advised not to travel for the funeral.
She never got to close that loop. I think it made it hard for her to recover from her mother's death. She was just gone one day. It's tough.
Barbara named her new baby Pauline Robinson Bush after her late mother. The Bushes nicknamed her Robin. Unfortunately, only 4 years later, the same year their son Jeb was born, Robin died of cancer. It was Barbara's unwavering strength that got her and her family through those difficult times.
For some reason, the loss of a child is even more painful than the loss of a parent. But she was very strong about all this.
Barbara and George went on to have 2 more boys, Neil and Marvin, and another girl, Doro. George set his sights on politics, while Barbara looked after her growing family. She became the family disciplinarian.
I've been reprimanded by Barbara Bush as a child, and I've been reprimanded as an adult. And in both circumstances, it's not very much fun.
In 1967, when George won his seat in Congress, the Bush family began their political journey. And in 1981, when George was appointed vice president, Barbara became the second lady of the United States.
Being a political wife might look easy, but it's incredibly hard work. She's always represented the country, I think, with great distinction.
Now in the national spotlight, Barbara took on a cause that became a personal crusade: literacy.
All experts tell us that the way a child learns to read starts at home. The parents are the first teachers, and it's just a wonderful way for children to begin to learn.
In 1989, Barbara became First Lady of the United States. During the first days of the administration, Barbara set up the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. Barbara's 2 books, See Fred's Story, released in 1984, and Millie's book, published during her last year in the White House, went on to raise millions of dollars for literacy projects. Barbara's time as First Lady came to an end after 4 years when George lost his bid for a second term to Bill Clinton in 1993. And as a result, the Bush family returned to Texas.
They have been at the top and they've been at the bottom, but the Bushes just always seem to get past everything. They believe in prayer and they have a very deep faith. Humor has gotten them through so much in life.
By 1998, the Bush family made a major political comeback.
When Jeb and George decided to run for governor, I think my mom was really kind of had mixed emotions. It was like, oh, no, not again. Are you serious? Why go through this, boys? Do you realize what it's like? And then on the other side, there's just enormous pride.
In 2001, George W. Bush became President of the United States, making Barbara the only woman in 200 years to have been First Lady to one president and mother of another.
This was just overwhelming to both Barbara. Just totally overwhelming. And again, the emotional moment was when he hugged us after taking the oath of office.
To celebrate her 90th birthday, Barbara Bush's best-selling autobiography, Barbara Bush, A Memoir, was re-released, this time featuring heartfelt essays from all of her children. A tireless advocate of literacy, fierce protector of her family, and admired for her warmth, resilience, and keen wit. Barbara Bush is a fine example of someone who has lived life to the very fullest, and she continues to do so with absolute vigor alongside her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and husband of 70 years.
So I thought that would give you a better overview of George H.W. Bush and his presidency, how he grew up, his life. It shows you that even presidents do have their struggles throughout time, with the loss of his daughter, his wife losing her mother very early. So, everybody does have some sort of struggle of some sort. But they talk about persevering, and they depend on their faith to help get them through. So I thought that was an interesting little video clip. Okay, so this week, like I said, you have about 1 assignment per day. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. If you're struggling to, keep up, there's always learning labs, and you can reach out to me as well. I know some of you guys can't attend the learning labs, but if you are local, we would love to see you. Okay, take care, and I will talk to you later. Thanks, bye.